Let's welcome everyone to Sunday Sentiments.
In the battle against COVID-19.
Almost people try to justify what he did.
Charged.
Of course, this is a hate crime.
Saved. That's a very traumatic event.
Wow, I mean, it's a violation of human rights.
Okay, good. All right, so we are going to move on to our next topic, which is, about geriatric moms. Okay, so this came about this last week when Naomi Campbell gave birth to a baby. Naomi Campbell is she 50 or 51? And there was newspaper articles that came out when she gave birth, which just seemed a bit gendered and unfair. So let me just show you what the newspaper article said. So I don't know if you can all see that. It says Naomi Campbell joins the swelling ranks of geriatric moms. So if you guys want to know the meaning of geriatric, which is why we're discussing this today as a women's panel, this is the meaning of geriatric in the Cambridge Dictionary. So, for or relating to old people, old and weak, an old person, someone who is old and weak. So relating to the medical care and treatment of old people. So as you can see, I don't know what you think about that term, but so Naomi Campbell gave birth and then they said she's joined the swelling ranks of geriatric moms. When I was preparing for this topic, I researched on Google. I just did a quick Google search for geriatric moms, and I got all these articles about it and came to realize that it's actually a medical term. That's already an issue that refers specifically to women over 35, guys, 35 years old. After you've had the meaning of geriatric, think of a 35-year-old being referred to as that. So 35-year-old women who get pregnant, and that is regardless of their health status. It doesn't matter if they're the most healthy, if they're over 35, they're called geriatric moms. I then Googled geriatric dads. I did not find a thing, but I found loads of articles that referred to older dads, older celebrity dads. So that word geriatric and dad or men is not together when it comes to being a parent. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think of the use of this term to refer to a woman who's around 50, and as I've said before, even from 55 years old, to refer to them as geriatric mom, and that men are not referred to as that, even though they're actually geriatric, as in 73, like some guy, I'll show you some celebrity guy who was a father at 73. I will go to Jamila.
Yeah, so this topic is actually very irritating for me because I just think about how women are always in such a rush, and then when they are lucky enough to not have to rush that process and have a kid at like Naomi Campbell's age, which is like a form of blessing at this point, people want to be like, oh, they're old. Like it's basically a side message saying that you're old and they shouldn't be having kids at that age. They should be having them before 35. That's kind of the message I'm getting here. And it's just very hypocritical because men will literally have kids when they're like on their deathbed and they don't have any type of repercussions. They don't get judged for any of it. And once again, it's because the role of taking care of children is for women. So they don't actually even put that pressure on men because when they're 70 years old, they're not even going to have to do anything for the kid anyway. So I really don't like that that's a term still used in this day and age.
Thank you, Jamila. I agree with you 100%. this term should not be used in this day and age. And yes, when women give birth at around that age, they are judged also by other women. This article was written by a woman. She could easily have replaced that word, even though she put it in quotes. She didn't need to use it because the connotation of that word it doesn't fit the situation. So yeah, so we need to stop having these views, patriarchal views, misogynistic views of women and what age is okay for them to have kids if men are not measured to the same standard. Thanks, Jamila. Yes, Shamsa, Catherine, then Shiro, please.
So, this term is really outdated, but they're still using it. For me, this is very an awful term. For me, it's very rude and insulting. This phrase is really uncomfortable. I can't agree with this term. All the time, our label don't need to be necessary at all. Ladies choose to have kids whenever they're ready. Definitely, it needs to be stopped. There are there could be so many reasons to get babies late, maybe the medical reason, or the ladies, they already afraid of having their health issues and everything, and then GPs, doctors, or hospital staff, if they use this term, it could be really discomfortable for them. So this term should be stopped. No need to. Why they're not calling any men, they're not giving any term to them, but they're giving the term or phrase to ladies. It's so kind of biased and racist. So it needs to be removed.
Thank you, Shamsa. Yes, it's so shocking. For me, what I found shocking was that it's an actual medical term that applies only to women who become moms after 35. So it's not just on the an internet slang or whatever. It's a medical term that's applied only to women. Really? I mean, even the women in the medical profession need to fight to get this term dropped. It's just so offensive. And yeah, it doesn't belong in this day and age. Thank you, Shamsa. Yes, Catherine.
Yeah. And you're right, because I mean that's the question. We don't even know yet what is the actual age or the advanced paternal age that it actually has an effect. Because when we talk about older mothers, there's always that issue with that the baby is not okay, with the main issue being Down syndrome. And for me, it's also women. Even now, with all the feminism and everything, we're still in charge of reproduction. We are the ones who are taking all the issues around the pill. We're trying to control pregnancy, and then we're also in charge of how well the baby actually comes out. And I think even women don't question it. I mean, when I was 35 with my first baby. And I remember in Australia, they were I don't know what other big countries do with babies. I had, they showed me a statistic, and I had a chance of, I think, something between 2,500 and 3,000 babies had Down syndrome at that age of the mother. Nobody talked about the father. And I was really shocked because I thought that wasn't a lot of babies. With my second child, I was 39. They actually got me into when I went for the Down syndrome test, they got me into a separate room because and explained to me on the day that I was getting some counseling because of the statistics I'm going to see. And I was like, I had my baby, I was healthy, I was young, 39. And they put the statistics in front of me, and they had a professional counselor next to it because it was 1 in 180 or something, like a very, very low number of babies, of mothers of that age being Down syndrome. Now, it was also the first year on the North Shore in Sydney, that the majority of babies were born to women over 30. So women were getting older. Now, again, I'm just mentioning this now because it's another topic, because how many Down syndrome babies do you see? And how many older parents, let's say parents, do you see? So you do get a bit of a feeling of how many abortions there actually are. But that, for me, is a different subject that we might want to look into for the future. Now, what about the fathers? Because for me, it was just all about me. I was old. I was giving this baby this risk of having Down syndrome. And I did do a bit of research, and actually, I mean, there is studies, and again, people don't know it enough. They call it spermatogenesis, because basically older parents, older fathers, their sperms are not as, just like the mother's eggs, they're not that perfect. And some studies say 10 to 20% of Down syndrome babies are actually related to the fathers having older sperm. And there is a study in New York that suggests it could be up to 50%. So again, women take all the responsibility for pregnancy, for and now also for babies being born to an aged or not being well when coming out. And I found it also interesting because I saw that with older sperms, there's also a heightened risk for babies to have autism and schizophrenia. I've never heard about it before. Nobody talks about it. Everyone talks about older mothers, but older fathers, never an issue. As long as the mother is young enough, because then there's the issue. It's not even if the baby is well. Yeah, but you know, when the baby is just 20 and Naomi is then, what was she, 50? She's in 70. It's all an issue because it's still the woman's responsibility from not or becoming pregnant to actually delivering that child into, I don't know, marriage and adult life. And for me, that is the issue here. And it just needs a lot of work and a lot of studies and a lot of resistance from women not to take on that responsibility. That was longer than I planned it to be.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. So you were a geriatric mum.
I was, yeah, yeah, and I still am. The sad thing is now that my children are telling me.
Anyway, and they came out all right, and everything was okay. You've shared with us your experience. You've said you were pulled aside, given counseling, and blah blah blah. And it seems like the father of the children was not.
Nobody asked Paul to come in and say, you know, we better take you aside and we talk to you, because no, not an issue.
And from what you say, there seems to be the same, if not even more, risk with an older sperm, you know.
Yeah.
Pool.
And you could be maybe a young mother and still have, I mean, that's the thing. You could be a young mother having an old partner, having a Down baby or whatever, and you know, I think there's still the suggestion that it's your issue because we don't talk about the father's role. It just, for some reason, men are almost removed from the whole discussion of reproduction.
Exactly, and this needs to change. This needs to start even with women in that profession, you know, in the gynecology or whatever. They need to get involved, and they need to start talking about this bias when it comes to parenting. I've forgotten the term for when you have children and all that.
But also birth control, because I did hear once on the radio, and I never followed it up, that there is actually hormonal or whatever, there's drugs that can reduce the sperm count in young men, so that basically the men could start, instead of women taking the pill with all the issues connected to the pill, there's actually a drug for men. Now the question is, would you want to rely on a man to control the birth? But that's again another discussion. But it's just not an issue. And again, you know, pharma will only investigate in big issues, but if we don't make it an issue,
we need to make it big. And yes, this is a discussion for another time, because even just that attitude of, oh, but do we want to leave the responsibility to men? We're already internalizing and saying, they can't do it, so let's just.
Because needs to change. Because there's two issues. There's when you're young, but also when you're a couple. You know, when you're a couple and you're starting thinking about planning your life and your children, you know, why is it then the woman who has to take on that responsibility?
So thank you, Catherine. We will definitely have the discussion about birth control and all those issues to do with, I don't know why that word has just gone out of my head, but to do with getting children and all that. I think, Namin, you wanted to say something as well?
Yeah, I totally agree with all the ladies that I also find this word very offensive for everybody, but I mean for women. But I think it's like this. Unfortunately, it's like this. Since we were born about the woman, for example, we have special age in many countries. They say that if you pass that age, you're old for marriage. If you pass that age, you're old for having a baby. If you pass that age, you like nobody will gonna marry with you. So this is unfortunately, I don't know why, in many countries, and it seems that even in many, like as you said, it's a medical theorem, a word that people actually use it in the field. So it means that it's like a problem in all over the world, not only in developing countries, about like towards women. So I found it very sad. And but as you said, Shiko, you said you are shocked, but unfortunately I'm not shocked, because I was born in a Middle East country and I was grown with those words that actually like something is late for girls, something is late for women. So it's sad. I just wanted to mention that I don't know why it's like that in all over the world, but it's quite sad. I don't know what we can do about this. Now, yeah, the women are going like in, let's say, more famous, the topics are more broad, we are talking about this, which is good, but unfortunately it's not enough to solve the issue. I really don't know what we can do to really go deep down and solve this issue from the source. Yeah, this is what I wanted to mention.
Yeah, thank you, Namin, for sharing your experience. You've said where you come from. You are not shocked because, you know, women are just referred to in very disparaging and derogatory ways in terms of their age and their value according to their age. So yeah, it is not going on just in the Middle East. It's very subtle here, and of course we've come a longer way in Northern Europe or America or whatever, but there's still issues like this is why this term shocked me, because we are supposed to be ahead or leading in terms of equality. So I was just shocked that this term is still used in that field. And what are women in this field doing to challenge this kind of views and this kind of term? It's just, when you look at the meaning of it, that it's still being used today. And then the men are referred to as older father or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. But we need to join any campaign. So not just talking about, of course, talking about it is great because we're raising awareness. But if you see any campaigns to do with these kind of issues, just sign your petition, do whatever. Things can only change if we keep talking and pushing for the change. And I think we also need to challenge the people who are in positions where they can, in the sector itself, the women in the sector also need to start pushing for change. Was there someone else who wanted to? Yes, Shiro, thank you.
Catherine, we're in the same boat. I'm like Catherine. I would have been referred to as a geriatric mom because I got my son after 35 and he was a healthy baby. It's just ridiculous to think that someone of 35 is being referred to as geriatric, because as Shiko, you read the definition to us. We imagine an old person with maybe dementia or something. That's geriatric, not a 35-year-old woman. So anyway, I was thinking it's a bit very offensive, not a bit, it's very offensive, like everyone has said, especially in this day and age where Naomi herself said earlier, I think a couple of years ago, that with science, she could be a mother. And these days, a woman can be a mother without even having to get pregnant. she could have saved her eggs. She could have donated the eggs also. So that term is completely outdated in this day and age. And when you think about men, Shiko, I think you have a list. I also had my own list of geriatric dads.
I'll show you after.
People like Steve Martin got a child at 67, Mick Jagger at 73, Rod Stewart at 66, Robert De Niro at 68, George Lucas at 69. Who calls them geriatric dads? They're called celebrity older fathers, not geriatric. So why are women being insulted? I think we should congratulate Naomi for choosing to be a mother at that age. She's mature enough to be able to raise a child well. And who says she won't be able to raise a child to adulthood? My grandmother had a child when she was over 40. My aunt was about my age. And my grandmother lived to her 90s, and she saw her great grandchildren from that daughter she got in her 40s. So we should actually do away with that term.
Thank you, Shiro. Yes, you've given us that list and we will add it to this video. I was so shocked, 73 years old, and a dad but wasn't referred to as a geriatric dad, just older dad. Really irritating. It really rubs me and I'm sure all of you the wrong way. But thanks, Shiro. That term needs to be done away with. It doesn't belong. And we need to celebrate people who, if they're healthy and they're able, why aren't we celebrating them? Why are we using this? And for me, for a woman to write that article referring to these ladies as geriatric, it's just such a letdown. Yes, Keshi, please, and then we have to wrap up.
Yeah, I want to say I take issue. Thank you, Catherine, especially for bringing to light this the scientific aspect of it, that also geriatric dads can contribute to health issues in babies, not just women. But that's the only thing that's ever emphasized. But I take issue with that term geriatric mom, because at the hospital where I work in the geriatric ward. And in the geriatric ward, I've never seen a 35-year-old patient
with a baby.
With a baby. And fact, actually, the average age of people who come to that geriatric ward is nobody under 70. And the average age is around 80 years. So I find that term so offensive, because it's shaming women for giving birth at a later age. It is, how can I say, it's incredibly offensive to me. And I find that it's very sexist, because women are told that they can have it all because of feminism. But at the end of the day, if a woman puts motherhood aside, or how do you say?
Delays
motherhood, so that she can pursue
when she tries to establish a career.
Yeah, like Naomi Campbell, and then is at a mature age and now wants to get children. She's shamed for it. Actually, that is shaming women, using such a term. That's why I find it offensive. And I think, like everybody said, we should campaign to have such a term removed, because it's sexist and offensive, and women at 35 are not geriatric. That is, it boggles my mind that anyone can describe such a woman at that with such a term, because at the hospital where I work, anyone who is geriatric, it's an elderly patient with several competing diseases, which overall provides to a loss of function, as well as disability that gives rise to various complicated social issues. Really, a 35-year-old can be seen in that group? Please have that. Let's campaign to have that that word removed from the medical dictionaries, and also from journalists like that woman using such a term. Shame on her.
Yeah, thank you, Keshi. I think we should actually take it seriously and start a campaign about it, and just encourage all the women we know to sign a challenge gynecologists and all the women doctors who work in that field to challenge that as well. I'm just going to show you a picture just quickly. So this is Mick Jagger, 73, when he got a child with his 29-year-old girlfriend. That's Mick Jagger. And then I want you to, and he's just called, you know, older dad or whatever. And then
celebrity dad.
Celebrity dad. And then look, this is also a celebrity. So look at this, and then the she looking like this is the one called Geriatric compared to the guy you've just seen. So that's Naomi looking pretty fit, toned arms, you know. Yeah, she's called a Geriatric. And that guy we just saw, who, to be honest, you know, he looks
frail.
Yeah, you know, geriatric.
He does actually look as if he has some sort of loss of function. Whereas,
but he's referred to as celebrity dad, and he's another celebrity who looks young and, you know, whatever, and it's called geriatric.
And you know, if Naomi Campbell with her career would have had the children in her 20s, she may not ever had a career. If she would have had it in the midst of a height of her career, she probably wouldn't have been available for her children, and she would have been told off because she neglected her children. And now she decided she's ready. She has these children at an age where she looks, you know, like most people look when they're 40. And she's getting told off now because she's too old for it. So we just can't get it right. And really, when you're young, or a lot of mothers, they have their children when they're young, and there's maybe a certain amount of neglect because they might just want to go out and party. They might just want to establish their careers. But when you're an older mother, you've done it, you've experienced it, you're ready, and you actually have time for your children. You might die before they are at the age of 30. Okay, but how many children are left alone because the mother had breast cancer? Or that is just, you know, an issue that you can take at the time. But I think there's just no argument about saying mothers at a certain age can't have children anymore.
Thanks,
I wanted to mention, I wanted to mention that I read somewhere that when this term geriatric or geriatric, I don't know how you pronounce it, was created, is because at that time, women at the age of 35 were already grandmothers.
Yeah, exactly.
But now today, that is not the case. Women are becoming mothers at that age. So that should be a reason for them to remove that stupid term that is offensive to women's reproduction. That's all.
Sorry. Thank you, Keshi. I think we should do this campaign seriously and acknowledge those points that when this term was first used, it was because of XYZ. It's still wrong because, you know, at that time,
so
how about men? Even so, whatever. But anyway, it's outdated for the fact that women live longer, women can give birth. There are several people on the panel who shared experiences, and other people we know who've gotten children past 35, and their children are fine and healthy. So it's like the chance of the Down syndrome is not as high as they trying, not in this day and age anyway. Yes, Shiro, finally we need to wrap up after you, because I'm so proud that, you know, we have a really good time. Yes, Shiro.
Yeah, I was going to agree with Catherine on what she said about career. It just came to my mind, Iman came to my mind, Iman, the supermodel, former supermodel. She had a daughter, the first daughter, when she was at the height of her career, and till today, the daughter complains that the mother never had time for her. She was always busy on the runway, and they had even issues, mother and daughter issues because of that. She never had time for her. Then she got a daughter later. I don't know how old she was, but she was definitely in her 40s, if not more, with David Bowie. And she was a better parent with this with this child because she had all the time with her, because her career was behind her at the time. So what Catherine was saying is true in many cases.
Thank you, Shiro and Catherine, for that point. Thank you all panelists for sharing your views on this, we need to seriously do a campaign about it. We hope that, yeah, we can get one of the younger ones on the panel to set up a petition, and then we will all sign it, get our women and male friends to sign it and just promote it everywhere and get this outdated term just removed from the medical dictionary. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Yeah, so we shall see you next time in 2 weeks. And if you have any topics you want to share or current news that you see around that time, share. We will have 2 topics each time. And yeah, have a lovely, lovely week. Apparently the weather should be getting better in Europe in the end
Europe
of...
maybe, but not in England.
Yeah.
And unfortunately Antonella is not here. Congratulations to I liked Azerbaijan as well.
Yeah, it was, I think, like on social media, it was quite well and famous. We weren't waiting for 20th place, but still fine. Yeah, I also like the performance, but Italy was also very good. I found it very good how like active.
Yeah.
I think they need some more energetic, who is like more energetic and like make people to go up and dance, get crazy. So they are the ones that gets win. So
Yeah. Well, let me just leave you with this because I want you to go and look at this and just think of the people in Congo who are dealing with this volcanic eruption. It's just sad. I saw another video. I was just like, wow, you know, just lava pouring down. So go read the story of the volcanic eruption just today. I'm only asking you to read because sometimes news from Africa is just sort of ignored. If you can go and read about it and think of the people in Congo who are having to deal with that. Is that your hand up or is it just your hand up from half an hour?
Earlier.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I'm so happy we finished on time. We've not been here forever. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.